How to Win Friends and Influence People, How to Win People to Your Way of Thinking. We're on the principle that says, be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and their desires. Dale Carnegie shares a story of the President of the United States at the time, William Taft, and he says every president who sits in the office of President of the United States has to deal with what he calls thorny human relations. And he says every single day. And he says on this one particular experience, William Taft had a mother who had come to Washington, and her real motive was to get her son appointed to a particular bureau as its chief. So she went to work and helped her congressmen and senators pass a bill that she knew that President Taft was in favor of, and hoping that President Taft would appoint her son. Well, my friends, what happened is the son was not appointed. Someone else was appointed who had better qualifications. But she sat down and wrote President Taft a really mean letter saying that that's the least he could have done for her, and it was really quite rebuking. And he read it and he says, I sat down and did what any human would do. I wrote back the same type of a letter. And he says, but if you are smart, he says, you will put that letter in a drawer for 2 days and leave it there. And 2 days later, take it out, and he says, you will decide that probably it shouldn't be sent. So he says, I left it in the drawer, and he says, I wrote another letter. And he says, I explained to her how much I appreciated what she had done. He said, I explained to her that I understood where she was coming from, but these decisions weren't left only to me, and that there was someone else who had more qualifications. And he said, I wrote a very polite and kind letter discussing with her how I understood where she was coming from. He said she sent me a letter back apologizing for her letter. My friends, if we send out what we're given, in other words, respond how people act, we will be sad. It will create more contention. But if we will find ourselves being sympathetic to the other person's ideas and desires, whether we like it or not, it will produce more harmony and more happiness in our lives.